My name is Bobuq. I am a non-binary Afghan with bookshelves behind me. This piece is called War Kink. The war in Afghanistan was ruining my sex life. All month, I'd been trying to avoid that annoying question from Martin. But wait, where are your family from? He asked over the shower steam the second time we had sex. I laughed and tweaked the ends of his sensitive little nipples with suds. A week later, he tried again. Sorry, I didn't catch it the first time. I know you said you grew up in Minneapolis, but remind me where you said you were born? My mother used to say I was heaven sent, that I arrived in her lap fully formed. This time there was no laughter at all. Martin glanced down at his nail beds. The third time Martin asked, I rubbed his dick through his trousers, a useful trick when you want a guy to shut up, which he did almost instantly. Foolproof. In the end, I overheard him tell someone on the phone he was dating a guy from Beirut, and I knew I had to correct him. I guess he thought the stick and poke tattoo of a serrated spear on my thigh was a cedar tree. He never figured out how to distinguish Arabic from Farsi. Martin, I need to tell you something. He wiped his phone on the duvet and put it face down on the bedside table. Don't freak out, but I'm not Lebanese. I'm Afghan. The guy audibly gasped. You should have told me earlier. Martin massaged his wrist as though it was sore or recently unclamped from a manacle. I can't keep choking you during sex now, can I? What kind of person would that make me? But I like it when you choke me. I asked you to do it. A pile of clothes fell off the edge of the bed as he got up and switched on the lamp. He slapped the meat of his thigh and sighed. He sounded ugly in his resignation. It wasn't the first time a guy I was fucking had said some shit like that to me. That's when I lose interest too. It's not sexy watching the onset of pity. I wanted someone to treat me like a slut, to show me that my worth was my sexual utility, which I sort of already knew from my day job shucking diamonds to newly engaged couples on Miami Beach. Often the same men came in with different girls, and one time this Brazilian guy brought his old ring into the store, plush case and carry bag and receipt and all, and begged me for a refund. The thing is, I didn't want someone to choke me as an Afghan. Didn't people turn to sex to escape the news? I was no exception. Now that I wasn't Martin's dirty slut, but an abject Afghan to be pitied, there was no going back. So I got dressed and left his apartment. War softens dicks, despite how Teddy Roosevelt made it look. I couldn't blame these men for losing their erections. I'd never fucked an Afghan either. The pressure to repopulate a dying race was a major boner killer. No one should be thinking about babies mid-coitus. Martin said he was cool to stay friends. We were planning on going to Mardi Gras together the following month, and he offered to split our reservation into separate rooms. It was just the sex he couldn't do anymore. He said I reminded him of Farouk, an orphan boy he'd sponsored in college during a televised humanitarian appeal. I can't have another Afghan to worry about. He was only half joking. Plenty of my relationships were motivated by some profound, unnameable guilt. Bleeding heart liberals with professors and CFOs for parents, Clintonites who'd exposed them to dinosaur books and sculpture museums as kids. They made brownie trays for birthdays and followed dietary restrictions diligently before ordering the catering for dinner. The latest girl to latch on, Ruth, was more tactful at least. She was new at the jewelers, and she smuggled boxed wine into the shop in her MK handbag. Who was I to judge? After work one Friday, Ruth asked me if I was single. I said yes, only recently so. She poured some gross Chardonnay into my hydro flask, and we sat on the beach to drink. I thought he was different from the other guys. I even told my mum about him. She's expecting to hear every detail about our trip to New Orleans. All of a sudden, the sun set and the Dominican family lowered their Bad Bunny speaker loop, and Ruth swiveled towards me in her analyst's chair. She gave me this look like, oh, you poor thing, you have a mum, it must be this messed up relationship. How is she taking all of this? She gestured to my painted nails and the long earring draped over my shoulder and the dark regrowth at my roots. You being that way, I mean. Oh God, I thought. I was trapped yet again by my own loneliness. My mother had warned me about this so many times growing up. She used to watch me out the window talking to the old ladies who fed breadcrumbs to the ducks by the pond. Any chum can give you a morsel of attention, she'd say, and you lose every sense of yourself. Is that it? I gripped the sand beneath my toes and turned to Ruth. Her freckles the same color as timber. She's fine with it, thanks for your concern. And I kind of hate that I still act so graciously, even when I'm untangling myself from whatever people expected me. I thought of telling Ruth that my mum was a journalist who'd helped run a Maoist newspaper back in Afghanistan, about the world-class blunts she rolled with one hand and the blowjob she'd given Richard Gere in a limo. None of it was true, but I wanted her to believe it. After some thought, I decided against mentioning Mao to Ruth. She was sympathetic to her reactionary Cuban parents, and I'd already learned the hard way that you can't advocate for communism with a reactionary Cuban who was born and raised in South Florida. Even if you do low-key advocate for communism, and even if your own parents fled the Soviet invasion, or else it becomes this whole thing. Ruth refilled my hydro flask with wine. Thank you.